All right, we're going right here. Welcome back. If you are back, or welcome to your first time of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. So, my name is Evan Strong. I am the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, a clothing company that is so much more than just a clothing company. We're called In the Image Clothing Company because we are all universally designed in the image of our living God, who is Jesus Christ. And that's what this podcast is. This is a podcast discussing the gospel of Jesus Christ. Gospel, literally translated, means good news. The good news of Jesus Christ. So, I'm going to do my normal intro as if I'm making like a video for In the Image Clothing Company, because that way I mentioned the prerequisites, right? And kind of discuss the company a little bit. But then we'll go into podcast form, right? I mean, we're in there, but the thing is, I can speak differently within the podcast because it's more of a lax thing. It's more laid back. It's a little bit longer form usually. You know, the videos for In the Image Clothing Company are usually about a half hour in length, and these podcasts could be up to as many hours as you know they ended up being. So, yeah, I don't need to be. That's another thing I need to kind of remember, is that I don't need to be so like visual with these, because I mean, yeah, if you're watching it visual, you know, I'm going to be here in front of the camera, but the podcast is also available in audio form to where I don't need to be like so like, you know, visual with it, because I'm also not showing anatomy and stuff within the podcast as I do within the videos that we just make for In the Image Clothing Company. So yes, even that though too, where it's like I kind of feel a little bit rushed a lot of times within these podcasts to like keep going and to get back on topic, and just because I'm used to the videos and I want them to be pretty smooth and even cadence, if you will, like talking throughout the videos. But no, the podcast, because I mean, I gotta kind of relax. I gotta relax a little bit. Not that I'm nervous, but just that I'm like trying to keep it like, you know, structured, and we don't need to do that within the podcast. So anyway, I like this too, just kind of chilling. I love the podcast. All right, so today's the 13th of October, 2024. Like I said, my name's Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. This is In the Image Clothing Company podcast. So what I'm going to do first is talk about our prerequisites, right? I've had some prerequisites just to allow the body to have a chance to function naturally, because that's what we do here, is just allow our bodies to get back to the only way they actually work, and the way that they naturally work, being designed by our God. We just allow our bodies to get back to that position and that natural working after being altered through worldly things and through clothing being the only thing placed physically directly on us. It's the only thing that has the potential to physically alter us at all times in that kind of way, because there's nothing else that they can do that to our bodies the way clothing does. So the prerequisites, as I always say, are to lace your shoes with In the Image Clothing Company's technique, which you can just find wherever you find us on the internet, right? It's 2024, you can find us on the internet. We do have our official domain, InTheImageClothingCompany.com, but just wherever you can find us. You can find our shoelacing technique, which just includes tying them evenly over toward the inside, right? I'm doing a little visual here for you visual watchers, but if you're listening to this just in audio form, yeah, you can go find that technique any and all places that you find us. That's the foundation. It's our feet, so that has to be done as a prerequisite. And then pairing the lacing with removing the tags from the tongues of your shoes up through all the clothing you wear. And if you want to go find In the Image Clothing Company videos, I've gone into pretty much every one of the tags and the locations they're placed and what they're doing to the body, causing unnatural gaps, right? And they're usually made out of synthetic materials that the body doesn't like. Ideally, our natural bodies should be placed and housed within natural clothing, right? 100% natural materials. So, yeah, there's the prerequisites. This is what our company's about. We are In the Image Clothing Company. Yeah. So this is the podcast, though, and this is as I've been saying so many times, and it's never going to like get old saying that. I don't mean that. This is going to be, already is, like my most enjoyed, or at least definitely one of the most enjoyed things that I have as far as anything that we do or ever will do being In the Image Clothing Company, because it's just we gear this podcast around the gospel of Jesus Christ, and that's the whole thing. I mean, that's within the name of our company, right? We're titled In the Image for that reason, right? The whole reason for our company is the human body, and realizing that we didn't design it, we can't tell it what to do, and we just need to allow it to get back to the only way that it really does anything, right? So I love the podcast, and I'm just excited. I'm excited to be able to just sit here and talk, right? This is the 4th episode, and today's going to be a different episode in the sense of a little bit more personal, okay? Because yesterday I got in a car wreck, and the airbags went off, right? I mean, pretty good car wreck. I mean, it totaled my mom's car. It's not even my own car. I wasn't going very fast, but the airbag's a big thing, and I just, we just go through a lot of the time, and I don't think a lot of people have somebody who really is a good support system for them, right? And that's not me saying something out of like me claiming that or blaming that, but I know that out of experience. Like I said, this episode might be a little bit kind of hard hitting, a little bit deep, if you will. But as I've said within the Image Clothing Company since like the founding videos, right? I mean, we're always going to try our absolute best, being equal sinful humans, to speak on nothing but universal truths here in the Image Clothing Company. And we're going to get deep and raw. And within the first episode of the podcast that I titled The Launch, I said that. I was like, we're going to break down our own walls and each other's walls, and it's just going to get raw and deep and real, and that's how it's going to be. And this episode's going to be kind of a really big one in that kind of way, because a lot of times we don't feel like, just because, like what I said, we're equal sinful humans, and that's hard to see, because some people are evil. We're all evil, though. We have to recognize that. Sometimes, though, it's so hard. The people that we're around and that we don't really have a say over being around at certain times, they're so hard to be around, and they're actually pretty terrible to us. A lot of times people don't feel like they have any kind of support system. And I don't want any kind of like feel bad for me for getting in a car wreck. I just said that because, well, it happened yesterday, and just kind of giving some context to my life. And, something like that, it's something you just got to deal with, Now, like I said, I mean, it wasn't even my car. I feel bad, wrecked my mom's car. And, something like that, it's potentially a pretty major thing. And really, I mean, it is, I mean, your body gets hit by that airbag. It's pretty hard. Big multi-thousand-pound car just gets stopped immediate, hitting another car. It's a pretty big deal, really, car wreck. So, no matter what we do go through, it's like something that we just, I just don't want to focus on the car wreck as if it's like I need support through it. I'm fine. But I just, we go through some major things in life, and a lot of times we don't feel like we have a support system around us, and a lot of times it's because we kind of don't. And I say it like that, and I kind of slow it down because I want that to be heard the way that is true. Because since we are equal sinful humans, even if the people that are around you that you don't really have a say over being around you aren't very supportive, well, they're no better than you, but you're no better than them. And that's kind of hard to see sometimes, but it's true. You can be trying to be on the path of righteousness, maybe harder than they're trying to be on it, but that doesn't make you a better person than them. Here's the thing. I'm going to get real, going to get raw. I don't care what I say or who hears it or what. I mean, I've got every right to speak on my own experience, and this is just my experience, I mean, I can say whatever I feel I need to say. And growing up, I didn't feel like that was the case. So that's kind of what I'm going to get into within this, because I never felt like I had a father. I don't care what my dad thought he was trying to do or how good he thought he was trying or what. I never felt like I had a father. And so when it comes to feeling like you don't have support, but then like having to live with someone that is the person you feel like doesn't support you, that can be hard. And I think there's so many things that are beautiful about me being the founder of this company. when I'm saying that, I mean outside of myself, coming from that, being like, if I'm looking at this from an outside perspective, and the way that I approach what we do here at In the Image Clothing Company, I've got a lot of perspective and a lot of background to be able to be in the position that I am, because really it's a leadership position, you know, leading the information that I give here at In the Image Clothing Company. So I grew up with a father that it wasn't a father. Again, I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. I can sound as accusacious as whatever, and I can sound as blaming as whatever, and I can speak this way or that way or what, but I can say what I want to say about my own experience growing up. And it doesn't matter how it sounds to anybody, whether it's the people I'm talking about or anyone else thinking I shouldn't be talking about somebody the way I am. I mean, this is my experience. I can speak on it. And I'm going to within this video. And I'm going to forever too, because that's the thing, is growing up, you know, you feel like you're just so, you feel silenced in a situation like that. Like, you can't speak. You can't tell the truth, no matter how much you want to, because you feel like you're going to get in trouble for telling truth, and truth doesn't change. So a lot of weird stuff like that. But I mean, this whole world is strange if you don't know what it is. And if you're looking at your parents, like I always looked at my father as he was. I mean, just this person who wasn't supportive and blamed me for everything, used me as the scapegoat for things that I didn't even do. I was just the person who always got railed on and always, I mean, you know, if you don't know the truth about truth, then that seems a little bit annoying, because no matter what, it's just, you know, you don't want to have to deal with that if you had a say over it. But we don't have a say over things in this life. We're not in charge. You know, growing up feeling like I never had a father, that's something you kind of long for. Because my parents also divorced when I was 7 years old. So, you know, you don't have a mom in the home from the time you're 7, and then the person you're forced to live with is treating you terrible, you know. So the idea of having like a father, especially being like a boy, you know, back then, you know, it's like father and son. You kind of wish that you could have that, at least in a, you know, decently normal way. You know, there's no normal really, but just like some love within the home would have been something nice to have. And, you know, I only had one sibling, so there's not really much to go around. Seriously. When you don't know, though, that you have a God, then that could be scary. Living with a tyrannical, pretty evil, I mean, we're all evil, but like pretty evil father, you know, it's like, man, if you don't know there's actually somebody who created you, well, that could be really hard. Luckily, I grew up born into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I grew up knowing about God, and not just knowing about him, but knowing him. And, you know, certain times in my life, I was kind of straying here and there, kind of really straying at certain other times. But, you know, having that foundational knowledge that's not some belief. We talk about that within Christianity. I talk about it in that kind of way, because that's how it is. It's not some belief, not some religion. It's the truth of all things. Jesus Christ himself created all things. He is the truth of all things. And so it doesn't matter. Those times in my life, well, that's the whole thing, is like the only support that we ever need is him. The only thing we ever need is him, when we can actually humble ourselves enough to see that. And we're sinful humans, and so that doesn't always happen. You know, humbling ourselves doesn't always happen. I'm pretty prideful. We're humans, we're sinful, right? And some of us struggle with different, like, sins more than others struggle with other sins, or, you know, and pride's something that I feel like it's kind of a male thing, right? That males generally struggle with pride more than females, and I don't want to say that because we're all, like I said, we're all equals, but it kind of seems to be that way to me, and especially growing up with the kind of father I did, that's just what I saw. So, he always just wanted a good father. He always just wanted a loving father, someone who would actually care. And I never had that within my earthly father. I mean, I still don't have that. He's the same man. This podcast is so beautiful. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is so beautiful. Our God himself is so beautiful. You want a perfect father? Well, you don't have a say in having one or not. You've got one. I have one, and I did that whole time. But it wasn't my earthly father. No matter how good of an earthly father you have, he's never going to be perfect in this life. Just like I'm not going to be perfect in this life, and neither is he or she. But our God, being unchanging, is perfect. He's the perfect example. He's the perfect father. He's perfect love in all that he is. And growing up, I had an evil dad, right? But a perfect heavenly father. So the thing is, when your earthly father acts the way that mine always does and did and still is, he wants you to believe that he's perfect. And no human's ever going to be perfect in this life. And so, no matter what, you're not going to please him because he tries to give you this idea that he's perfect. And so then that kind of becomes what you try to do, is just please him. Because no matter what, he's upset with you. So, our God doesn't need to be pleased to love us. His love for us doesn't change. In fact, trying to please somebody, the only being our living God, Jesus Christ, who is perfect, if the point and way and avenue we were going to please him in is being perfect, well, we would never please him. But he is perfect. There's no way we can please him if he had expectations for us. He doesn't really have any kind of expectations for us other than following him. Well, that's really it. There's a verse within, I actually don't know what book of the Bible it is, but it says it's impossible to please God apart from faith. So we just need to have faith on him. Faith that he's there. Faith that he does love us, even though our earthly father is telling us that we're so trash when we did the best we possibly could. That's all we need to do, is have faith to please our living God. And that's kind of a foreign concept if you're not used to the truth. But that's how it is. So, having a perfect father is something that we all have. Perfect love, perfect forgiveness, perfect understanding, because he knows all things and he created all things. So, a perfect father, something that sounds too good to be true if you don't know that it is already. Because he's already there, and he was here, before everything. So, I want to make it clear for other people that no matter what you've gone through and who you've had to deal with, you can speak on your own experience. Because you're speaking on your experience, not your truth. We don't have our own truths. That is disgusting. There's truth, and we can speak on it. And so, that's the thing. Going forward with this company, I've talked about, again, being in the Image Clothing Company, I've talked about all the time, we're just going to be so transparent and open. And what truth does is set you free. And so, I'm going to talk about my childhood, and I'm going to talk about my life, because it's an intimate, if you will, type of company, where I don't want to be just distant, like my father was. I mean, we just want to be honest here, and we're going to be. So I'm just going to speak on my experience growing up, and no matter who says it was different or who says this or that or what, I mean, that's what you're told all the time. People try to make you believe that things aren't what they are, so that you are lost in your beliefs. That's why I say Christ himself is not a belief. You try to believe something, you can believe anything you want, but then 6 months later you might not believe it. And then how? Because truth doesn't change. So yeah, my earthly father, man, he was evil. Is evil. I mean, just call a spade, right? Without any kind of weird intention behind it, just that's what it is. So the funny thing about our God is he's perfect, and he never does anything mean to us. I mean, he might not give us what we think we want, and then we could probably think that's mean, I prayed for this and I wanted it so much, I didn't get it. Well, shoot, right? Giving us something that's not good for us just because we want it is bad. That's going to damage us, our progression, our life, and everything. So he's not going to our living God, who is perfect, he's not just going to give us whatever we want. He's going to give us what we need, always. Even if that's something that hurts us in certain ways. Right? But the thing is, with him being perfect, is a lot of times throughout my life, I just turned my back on him. Even after seeing what he had done for me, and through me, and in me, and just thought that I could do whatever I wanted, at certain points. Many times, and then time and time again, after I realized I, couldn't just do whatever I wanted and have that actually work. Stuff like that. So it's crazy. That's a perfect father right there. Someone who will let you just turn your back on them and then still love you just the same after that, And that's the only way you're ever going to find that. It's the only place you're ever going to find that, and that's a place that's never going to change is our God himself. I mean, you can mess up a zillion times, and you will, and I will, and I have already. He's not going to change his opinion on us, no matter what we do or did or could think about doing or what, So, ow, my wrists. I just, it's crazy to think, growing up, always wanting a perfect father, and nothing ever had to happen for that to be what it was, because Christ was always there, whether I was praying to him or asking him to be, or wanted him to be or not, or what, or how petty I was in my upset of whatever it was I was upset about at whatever time, or whatever, wishing my earthly father was actually a good man. No matter what I was trying to do, my living, ever-present God, our living, ever-present God, didn't change, didn't go anywhere. He didn't change his view on us or me or anyone, even my own earthly father. Is that nuts or what? The evil man that he is, our living God still loves all of us, even my evil earthly father, equally, and he doesn't change his love for us. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous that he could be that perfect. But it's truth. So, I know a lot of times we don't like our situations. We don't like the people that we're around, and that's okay. I mean, we can love people for being people without liking them and wanting to spend time with them, You can love somebody and want to be as far away from them as you possibly can, That's really how it is. And that's how it should be in a lot of cases, like my case with my earthly father. It's yeah, ideally, we don't ever talk. Because there's times like that where it's not like you just got to get over something or work through something. It's if people are bad for each other, they're bad for each other. That doesn't matter if it's some toxic relationship you've gotten yourself into or a family you were born into. sometimes people are really bad for each other, but you can still just like love them as a person from a distance and really have it be beneficial universally to not ever be in contact with them, if you can have that happen. I mean, you know, that's really truth. I mean, there's times where it's like you don't need to make amends. There's times where no, it's actually best for all to never contact. But what's so beautiful is just to be able to grow in this life, to be able to learn that kind of stuff, and to be able to know that no matter what the world is telling you, or what the people around you are telling you, or what they think should happen, or what relationships they think you should have, or the way that you should be within your relationships, nobody can tell you that, because the only person that can say that is our God, and He is above all of us, no matter what we want to believe. I mean, no matter what. But He's perfect. You know, there's so many scriptures talking about He has perfect love. You know, our living God is perfect love. And no matter how much love we feel like we had or didn't have or wanted or anything or want, it doesn't matter at what point in our lives, from other people. People are just people, man. But it's so beautiful. It has to be seen for everybody else, for your own situations, and I have seen it for my own personal one, that making amends isn't always what is going to be the best thing. You know? We can't look for love in people. We can't. We can appreciate love from people, but we can't seek it from people. We don't really choose if we love people or not. We don't. Because, I mean, as much as you want to try to choose to love somebody, that's what's going to get you stuck in a relationship that's abusive. You don't choose to love somebody. You just love. It just happens. The more you want to try to choose to love somebody, the deeper you get into toxic relationships. Because the world, rather than our God, the world preaches to just choose to love. Choose love over everything else. And yes, be loving, but don't try to love an individual, as in like try to force it to happen because you feel like you should love all people in a way that seems like X. No, that's when you get people that are just giving and giving and giving and giving all of themselves to somebody who's just going to take. Because this person who's giving feels like they just need to keep choosing to love no matter how abusive the other person is. That's absurd. It's just a skewed way the world has come to show love. But no, love is, I'm going to let you do your thing, but get out of here. Get away from me. Stop talking to me. Stop touching me. Stop intruding on my life. I'm going to love you as a human being, let you do your own thing, but you got to let me do mine. That's real love. You don't choose to love. You just love. And that's how our God is. Because He loves us. And His love doesn't change. But He's not going to just keep like saying, come on, come to me, come to me, come to me. And like almost like forcing us to like be with Him. He just stands at the door and knocks. And He waits for us to open it. Right? That's a scripture verse. Because He's just going to stand there in His area, being Him, unchanging, and just be like, I'm here, but you have to come open the door to me. He doesn't say, just keep coming to me, like, no matter what, and like, love me, and love me, and love me, and love me, and like, you have to. He gives us the choice. But He doesn't come to us either, like, no matter what, I'm going to pester you because I'm your God. No, He says, I love you, but I'm going to leave it up to you to do what you need within this and find out what you actually need, because he actually knows what we need, but he's not going to force it on us. Our God doesn't force his love on us, and he doesn't force us to love him, but he loves us from a distance. Not that he's distant, but he loves us without having to have any kind of interaction or reaction with us at all. He just stays over here being him, and he gives us the opportunity to come to him, right? So that needs to be seen, because if when I start talking about how my earthly father is an evil man, and he is, and how I shouldn't be in contact with him, there's potentially some people that are like, well, you're a Christian, aren't you? Aren't you taught to like love and no matter what? Yes, but that's why I just said that verse. Our God stands at the door and knocks. And if we open it unto him, he will come in and eat with us and dwell with us and be with us. But he's not going to force us to, because he created us. He'll let us do whatever we want. He'll let us make our own decisions and go to hell. He'll let us damn ourselves. He'll let us make mistakes. He doesn't force us to love him, and he doesn't force his love on us. He is the perfect Father, and that's how he is he gives us the choice to completely just abandon him, or to be as close to him as we possibly could within our own doings. And then, as the scripture says, if we draw nearer to him, he'll draw nearer to us. But, yeah, all that is true from both ends, right? So, yes. Because the difference is our earthly fathers aren't perfect. And so our God being perfect, yes, we do want to draw near to him, and he will draw near to us. But our evil, sinful, earthly fathers, again, we're all evil and sinful, but some of us are doing things that are hurting others in ways greater than other people are doing things that are hurting others. And we don't need to draw nearer to those people. We don't need to continue to love them by being in their life. No. And our God, again, I can say whatever I want, but truth is truth. Our God, go read scripture, go find out what the doctrine actually says if you got a problem with this. Our living God, who is above all, doesn't want us to try to stay into a relationship, no matter who it's with, if it's not good for us. No matter who it could possibly be with, blood relative or any other human on the earth, ever. He doesn't want that. In fact, there's many verses that say, every man must leave his father. And that scripture is not just only about a father and a son, but just meaning, there's many verses in scripture talking about our God is above all, and we need to choose him over even our own wives or our own husbands or our own blood family, regardless of who that is. And some people might think that that's a little bit weird or hard to hear, but, well, okay. That can be hard for you to hear, but it's the truth. Because, again, that's where abusive relationships come from, is people placing their significant other or even their family member, father, mother, or whoever it would be, legal guardian or caretaker. If you place importance on those people over our God, then you're going to potentially get abused and abused and abused and abused and abused because of the world's teachings that you need to stay within these relationships to be loving toward this person. And that is entirely false, universal. And I've seen my fair share of just abuse within my own household, to me, to my own mom, to my sister, within relationships, romantic relationships that I've seen within other family, meaning my extended family or just other families, I've seen abuse a lot. And people, a lot of the time, because of what the world preaches, will stay within these relationships because they think that that is what love is giving and giving and giving while the other takes. That is not. That is not. So, the gospel of Jesus Christ is the truth of all things. It's what will set you free. My earthly father is such a controller, like a TV remote, man, that I always was told growing up that, like, no matter what I did, I was going to get blank, right? And he'd always just tell me what would happen, and he'd always tell me what I was worth, and always tell me what I could do or couldn't do, and he was so in charge of everything. Oh yeah? That's great. He's not. I'm not. No human is in charge of anything. We can't actually control anything. And so I just, grew up being told that by this evil man. The point is, like, I've thought about that so often, like, all the abuse that my earthly father did to me, what does he think? It's just never going to get out? Like, I'm just never going to speak on my own experience? Like, I can speak on whatever I want. And what happened as a kid, I mean, then my mom left, and we're all still just trying our best to avoid this evil, sinful human being. And that's the thing. It's like what I was saying, like, it's better to avoid somebody than to try to, because there's some blood relationship, like, make amends with something that would never be good for you. No. I mean, universal, right? I mean, that's why I'm saying, like, I've seen outside of my own family relationships, like, relationships that are so abusive, and people will just keep going back to them because they think that that's love. I know that he's hitting me is like what women will say within an abusive relationship, but I love him so much that I'll show him more love so he can hit me more. What? I mean, that's what's happening throughout the world. But that's the thing, is trying to please an equal sinful human. Why? Right? Why? That's what I did my whole life, living with my earthly father, till I finally broke out of his tyrannical control trap. The guy's insane. We can't please people. We please our God, because he'll wipe this world out in an instant. I mean, that happened. Flooded the entire thing. Noah and his family and the animals, they jumped on this big old boat and they were fine. They were the only righteous ones. Everyone else, I mean, it had to be kind of started over. And we're all sinful. I mean, I gotta hit that. It's not like I'm so, like, righteous, but I try. That's really all we can do. Yeah, I mean, if you want perfect love, the only place you're ever going to find that is by seeking God. And it's not like he's just, like, has the option to give that to you. He is perfect love. And so whenever you're in, like, a relationship of any kind, people trying to get into, like, a romantic relationship to find perfect love, there's no such thing between equal sinful humans. The only time you're